I'm your host, Cassandra, and I'm joined today by Rodney Lofton, retired educator. Rodney, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, tell me, you are a retired educator. What does that mean?
So I actually started my career in marketing. I was working in marketing for a company called Dun & Bradstreet, and wasn't really happy with that. But one thing that I was doing at the time, I was in the music industry. I was doing some concerts. I was a concert promoter.
Oh, wow.
When I was in college, and continued that work. But I always had a love for working with kids, and so I went back to school and I got my master's from Columbia University. And I started teaching in New York City as a math teacher in New York City. And I did that for about 10 years. And I was called to become an administrator, and that continued on where I became an assistant principal, then a principal, middle school principal in New York. And the bug just kept on pulling me to become more of a leader. And I went on to become a deputy superintendent in Mount Vernon, New York.
Oh, wow.
Yep, in Mount Vernon, New York. And then eventually I became a superintendent in New Jersey. And that brought me down to the New Jersey area where I became a superintendent in Princeton area, Mercer County, and in Trenton Public Schools. And I did that for 4 years and subsequently continued my education and retired.
Okay. And how many years were you in education?
So I was in education for 32 years.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Yep, long time. Got my master's from Columbia University and my doctorate from Columbia University. And my focus was not on just education. My focus was on adult learning. So I wanted to really learn how adults learn, because I felt that if I can really help support teachers and administrators, that it would help the children. And so I do a lot of work continually, and even now to this time, working with adults.
Really? That's interesting. So what do you do now that you're retired?
So I kind of define retirement as ceasing a job. So I ceased a job, and now I think I've really found my purpose and my calling, and that is to really help adults. And so I do two things. One, I work as an executive coach, a life coach for adults. I've been doing some work with some ministers around the country, but I do primary work. I'm doing work with principals and district leaders throughout the country. So I'm in Atlanta, I'm in North Carolina, Virginia, California, Houston, Texas, and I go into the schools and I really basically try to help support those particular leaders in the work that they're doing in the schools.
Oh, okay. Why did you choose to retire but not really retire?
Well, I think working for a system probably wasn't exactly what I needed for me. I needed to have that freedom, that consultancy freedom. But I had already put in enough years to get the pension that you get and the health benefits. So I said I might as well finish the last 10 years. And it takes about 25 years to do that kind of work and to get the pension. And so I continued on. But I tell you that retirement brought in a new life for me. That freedom that I wanted to have my own business and to move and maneuver. And I think the most important benefit is for me to help people. I think that has always been my purpose, is to really help people and really help how adults learn. I found that adults learn quite differently than most people think.
Right. That's interesting. So will you ultimately retire, though?
I don't think I will ever retire.
Really?
I think that when people slow down, I think they actually slow their lives down a little bit. And so I still go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm an avid golfer and make sure I do that on a regular basis. And so I balance the work. So I will work for a week and then take a week off. I work for a week, take a week off, or even work 3 days. And so my next week, this week I have off. The holidays is here. Thanksgiving is around the corner. But then next week I'm in 3 different states. And so I'll work hard so I can enjoy it. But I think I want to just keep that motor moving until the motor can't move anymore. And I encourage those retirees, to find that place, that space. I kind of think of purpose is your passion plus your gift equals your purpose. And so that's my definition, is that you have a passion for something to continue that. Even if you do it in a small scales, like if it's, you want to get into video or anything of that nature, just, do it at your church, your synagogue, and your mosque. And find a place to, that thing that you always wanted to do for yourself, do it there.
I feel like you're teaching us right now. So are there any things that you want to do? In talking to other seniors, one of my questions is, what's on your bucket list? Like, what do you want to do outside of what you love to do, which is important? What other things do you want to do?
So it's funny, like my bucket list is connected to golf. And so, it's golf courses around the country and around the world. So I was able to accomplish one of those. I went to Oregon, which has one of the top golf courses in the world. They have 3 of them in one place. It was a really good occasion for me because I'd never been into that part of the world, of that part of the States. And it was pouring rain, and people are playing golf in the pouring rain, which was unusual for me. So that was a great opportunity. I'm looking to go to Streamsong, Florida, which is another golf location, in Pinehurst in North Carolina, and I want to go to California and see the beautiful courses out there. And so I kind of live around where the golf courses are, and that's what my bucket list is for me.
And you're kind of able to tie that into what you still do.
That's exactly right.
That's
wonderful.
Exactly
right. Yeah.
So do you have any, it doesn't sound like, I mean, I ask everyone this, do you have any regrets? But it doesn't sound like you have any.
Well, it's funny. I was a marketing major. I graduated with marketing, and I started my career in the music business.
Right.
And I think that had I went in the right direction in the business, I was doing the concert promoting. So my first concert act was, I had Mary J. Blige and I had Al B. Sure. And they were new to the business. And so I started doing those concerts, and you invest a whole lot of money. So a couple of my friends from college, we got credit cards. We maxed the credit cards out, and because we didn't have the money, we opened up an office on 57th Street, and we just started promoting concerts. Had I known better, I should have went on the management side of it. And so I still love music. I listen to every forms of music, from classical music to reggae to jazz and to R&B and rap. So I still have that love. So my regret would have been I should have went in the other direction in the music industry. So I had to put the money up for the concerts.
Right.
And some concerts I won and some concerts I lost. So for example, I did Bobby Brown when he was a solo act. I did that in Atlantic City, outdoor concert. It rained.
You lost.
Didn't have insurance. I lost a lot of money. And so that side of the business was a little harder for me. I wish I would have known about the management side a little better.
So do you think if you ended up doing that, you would probably not be who you are today? You wouldn't have become an educator.
That's true.
So everything
I would have always been an educator.
Okay.
I think that I would have
It's
not.
in you. So
yeah, that's
sure.
right. I like the kind of the behind the scenes that we talked about earlier today. I like the being behind the scenes person. I thought the managing of people would still be educating, people.
Right.
So I thought that is where I was. And I think that still, I probably would not be where I am.
Right.
I still have a love for music. I don't think I want to be a manager of any artist now. I don't have the patience for that. But I think that I still would have some interest in helping adults.
Maybe that's something you can still pursue, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because you sound like you're not even an old retiree. You're young. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I will be 60 years old in a week.
So you retired pretty young in
Yeah,
comparison to most.
Yes. So they had an early retirement program that was 57 and 25 years in the system. And I took advantage of it and jumped on it. And so I collect pension. I have my health. And now I'm like off to the races with a whole new love of life. It's almost like a new start for me. Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So you are married. I know that.
Yes.
How did it, when you were married and you were working, how was your life changed in terms of home life,
That's a very good
kids,
question.
wife, everything?
So I don't talk about retirement to my wife. I think she gets really jealous of the idea that I don't have to work.
But you do.
I
You
do
don't
work.
have to, but
Right.
you want to.
I want to
Okay.
work. That she believes that the travel that I do is a lot of fun. It can be hard at sometimes, getting off and on planes and eating properly. I really haven't taken advantage of some of the cities I've been into because you're working. You're working all day and then you're tired.
Right.
I tried to invite her. So my first work I did when I retired was I was in the Virgin Islands for 3 weeks.
Oh, that's nice.
And she never came out one time because she was working, and so there I did take advantage of the opportunity. I did take my
3
golf
weeks,
clubs,
absolutely.
3 weeks, and hit the beach and the pools. So it can be difficult when your mate is not retired at the same time.
Right.
Where they're working hard and sweating and coming home and they're tired, and you may not be working that particular day. But I try to
played around the golf and she's exhausted.
I try not to ever. I always make sure I'm back before she's back. I help out with my son and take him back and forth to school when I'm home. So I think that I try to help out, but I don't talk about retirement.
That's smart.
That just doesn't happen.
That's smart. So not so much with your wife, but how about with your son? Because when you worked 8-10-hour days, you figure.
Yes.
Now you get more time with.
Well, it's kind of hard because I'm away.
Right.
And so I had to get a tutor for him because I usually help him with the math. So I get a tutor for him because I just don't have the consistency of helping him with that kind of stuff. But I'm able to drive him, pick him up, and I do a lot more with him than I did before.
That's
but
nice.
Being away, though, makes it a little difficult because there's spots.
Right.
That I'll be gone for a week and then back for a week. And so that's a little difficult having the consistency when you're not around.
Right. So you said you're 60. You still have a ways to go, obviously. When do you think, honestly, you will stop and say, let me just kick my feet back and enjoy what I've worked so hard for all these years? Like, just stop.
I think it's hard when you enjoy.
Right.
It's
so you enjoy what you do. It's different.
Yeah.
So you can't call yourself retired. Because you're an entrepreneur at heart.
So no, I'm retired from one job.
From one job.
So I'm actually, and I know this doesn't answer the show's title.
Right.
But
we're seniors at play.
Yeah.
You're always playing.
Yeah. So I am always going to play. And I just want to say this to my colleagues, my seniors out there, that you should always continue to enjoy life. I mean, say if you always thought that you wanted to be a singer, join the church or your mosque or synagogue, join the choir there, or whatever it is that you felt you wanted to pursue. Like I talked about music, I still have this thing behind me about music. There's just something I still have this want.
Right.
I just have to figure out how to make it happen.
Right.
Maybe form a new singing group.
This
or
is what
like
you're going to do.
Yeah,
I feel it.
Yeah,
I think this is what you're going to I think music is your next little passion project.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It might be. I haven't pushed it. I have a nephew that's writing some music, and I'm pushing him to, try to keep pushing that music. I'm always about helping people. That just seems to be my calling, more so than anything else is how can I help somebody else get better?
Right. That's nice. Wow. Well, very interesting, because I've had a lot of different seniors on, and they're all a lot older than you. I've had 75, somebody I think turning 77. And they're kind of they literally worked their whole lives.
Okay.
And then now it's I'm just enjoying. I don't do anything. I watch my grandchildren, but you don't have that story.
No.
Your story's very different.
No, it's funny. My father worked until he passed away, but he worked until his body physically, but he was manual labor. He was an electrician, so he could not do some of those same kind of things that he did before. But mine is just using my brains.
Right.
And so if my brain doesn't work anymore, then I'll slow down. But
Right.
I think that I need to be continuously moving and helping people get better at what they do.
So then here's a question for you. To those people who work manual labor, work until they're done, and then literally they're done.
Right.
Maybe we have young people watching. What better advice would you give them for their future, for their lives? Because, for instance, you said if you would have gone into music, it might have been a different path. So do you have advice? Because it sounds I feel like your story is a good story to tell people. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I'm always if you don't want to go to college, don't go to college.
Right.
College is not for everybody.
Right.
It is expensive.
Right.
Figure out what you want to do. So maybe that you have a message for younger people who will one day have to retire and hopefully don't work a job that they hate their whole lives until they're done.
Yeah. I know life has different directions for you, and sometimes you are working a job that you may not like, and you have to do it because you have to, live and you have to eat.
Right.
But don't let that run and control your life. So you have to try to find things in the midst of that, reading books, and there's some really quality books to help you find your place and your way, even while you're doing that full-time job, so that when you no longer are doing that job, you are able to maybe move over at the same time. I think of it as like a pyramid or a triangle, that you're doing this job and you slowly can move and make that triangle smaller, not doing that one. And as that one is getting smaller, this other one is growing so that you can actually begin to develop. So for example, say you are an electrician and you know that that's where your calling is for that time period and you have to do that. How about expanding yourself and creating a group of electricians, and so that you're not having to do the manual labor as often and you have a group of people working for you or a team that's working together.
That's smart.
So I'm always thinking about how do you expand in yourself to make life easier for you. So even in the consulting work I do, I'm doing the work. I have to be there. I'm looking now for a place that I can hire several consultants to be there for me, so I don't have to always be at that place.
Right.
And so that's the way my mind thinks about how can I expand myself and duplicate myself so I don't have to be, if I'm handle weddings, I don't need to be there. I have someone else
Right.
can do that now, and so I can have multiple weddings happening at the same time.
Right. You don't want to have multiple weddings happening. Take that from me.
Yeah, okay.
So you mentioned something I thought. So what is it that you teach? You say you continuing education, adult learning. What is it that you teach?
So I do various things. So one, my major thing is I do data analysis, data teamwork. I teach people how to, and it could be in any industry, how to look at their numbers and how to, whatever your goal is, how to either grow your church or how do you, in schools, how do you make students do better in school academically by looking at numbers and data. So I look at quantitative and qualitative data. Oh, wow. And so we do a full analysis, and I try to take the leaders out of it and let the people, the teachers, do a lot of the work in this process, but really finding and looking at numbers, how to change your life. So I got this process from Rudy Giuliani, who was a mayor in New York, and they started this process called CompStat, comparing statistics, and you basically, and he was able to drop the crime rate in New York City by basically looking at the data and numbers. And so he said, what is the highest time during the day that our crime rate is the highest? And most people don't know what that time would be.
Right.
What hour would you think that would be possibly?
Noon, maybe?
Huh?
Noon, maybe?
Noon?
Mm-hmm. But
Okay.
why? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's a good way of saying it. But some people normally say 2 in the morning.
Right.
Right. Well, the criminals are maybe out 2 in the morning, but the normal people are not. So the crime is not high. Crime is high between the hours of 3 and 5.
Why is
And
that?
so he looked at the data.
Why is that though? Do you know?
Well, yes, because who gets out of school at 3 o'clock? Right. So crime rate is highest at 3 and 5. So just to make a long story short, he really dug into the data to basically lower the crime rate. And the crime rate dropped dramatically when he was mayor. And the police department really showed how and I do that in schools. Like, so I'll look at behavior. When is the highest time that fights occur in the school? And where's the highest time rate where students are really intellectually challenged at what point? So I look at that, and I do that the same thing for people in churches. And like, why your numbers go and they spike up and down? Let's really look at it. Some people have feelings about that, and that would be your qualitative data, you know, the things that you feel, but the quantity, I look at the numbers as well. So I do a lot of that work, and so I try to incorporate that in with also teaching and learning.
How did you find out or figure out that once you were done teaching, that's what you wanted to do?
You know, you when you're doing stuff, you start liking and enjoying it, and I try to do coaching. So coaching, mentoring, consultancy are all different. So mentors basically talk about what they've done and share that. I coach. I try to get people to find out for themselves. So I'll throw tidbits out or information out to try to get them to discover about what's best for themselves or what's best for the school. I don't try to come and say, this is what you should do. So I really believe in the coaching. You know, I ask a lot of questions, as you're doing here in this interview, so people can really find themselves.
Right. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Because most people retire and they're like, okay, I'm done. You know, speaking to different people, and another guy I know, he said that once he retired from his job, he felt like his life had no purpose. And I said, why is that? He said, I worked for 50 years or whatever it was. And he said, you know, he had nothing to do. And he was literally lonely.
What I tell people, and if you're in that place where you're getting ready to, you've got to plan for retirement.
So how did you plan?
You have to start thinking about what you want for yourself. Like, what if I had to do it all over, what would I do? So music was one of the thoughts, but I also knew that I'd like to help. I thought about going back to be a counselor or a therapist, but I said that wasn't the place for me. I think my place was more of coaching. And then that's when I looked into, you know, getting information about getting a coaching license and start coaching people. At the church that I attend, at Change Church, even the pastor had me work with ministers. He has this ministers group, and he wanted me to sit down with the ministers. So I had a bunch of about 25 ministers talking to them, not realizing they need coaches as well. And so I think the advent of coaches has changed. At one time, it was psychiatrists people went to when they needed help, and then it was therapists they went to, and then counselors. Now, coaching is, even though it's been around for the last 10 to 15 years, that has been like the new wave of people who are helping support people find themselves, their career. And so I believe that seniors in your retirement place, you need to have a coach. You need to have a feeling about
that's smart.
What do I need to do with my life?
Right.
I worked 50 years, but life is not over. Life is it's actually a beginning of it.
Right.
It's almost like a new beginning. And so take advantage of that opportunity. And you might say, you know, I'm on a tight budget, or it doesn't matter. So it might be somebody working, you know, at Walmart, senior citizen working at Walmart, realizing that was an enjoyable place for them, and they never realized they would want to be in retail.
Right.
And so I like the fact that a number of companies are hiring seniors to work in different areas.
Right.
Because they find that this is an enjoyable place. Instead of being at home all day, they go and they work for, 4 to 6 hours, and they have a really, and they like the place that they're in, and never thinking they would be doing that kind of work.
Right. See, well, you have the benefit of being able to plan, because financially you were in the school system. It was different pension. Now everybody, like you said, everybody doesn't have that. So what advice can you give for people who don't have that option?
Well, of course you have a certain amount of money that you may have, but as I said, they could go and start working in a place that may not require physical, but so you go into the department stores and you see senior citizens working in areas, and so I think it's a good place and a good opportunity.
Yeah, very smart. Wow, that's very interesting. So what else do you want to do, though? You have golf, you have travel that is incorporated in your work, but what else? There has to be something else. Art, painting. I had some people say they want to learn painting. Some people want to do more cooking. Someone's planting a garden. Like, what about the old people stuff? Let's call it the old people stuff. Do you have any old people stuff that you want to do?
I don't have the gardening, the artwork.
No, right.
I think about what's going to happen when I can't play golf anymore.
Right.
I haven't really thought about that.
Right.
I don't have any other activities that I really enjoy. I love to work out and exercise. I love to play golf. I love good music. I love quality music. I love going to concerts. I just love music, like any kind of music.
Really?
It doesn't matter. Classical music.
I'm going to see Jay-Z next week.
Okay.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, so that's my guy.
And again, when I was in the music experience, I had a teacher in my school that was a manager of DMX. He was a school teacher, and he found out I was in the business, and so at that time, Jay-Z and DMX were on tour. So I was going to Jay-Z concerts every week just to see Jay-Z.
That's fun.
And I've gone to a couple of more since then. But I love Jay-Z's music.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, as you said, your wife's not retired. How much longer before she retires? And you guys can finally say, hey, we're going to do.
But I'm going to still be working.
You're still going to be working, but you're retired.
So I think another 5 years, probably 6 years. She doesn't really have any plans. And so, like, for example, because that coaching part, I see things for her that she doesn't see for herself, and she doesn't have any interest in that.
Really?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard. I see her doing things independent of working, but she's in the HR business, and she can do some independent HR work.
But she enjoys what she does.
She enjoys what she likes.
So
she doesn't like those responsibilities of owning your own company.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not for everybody.
No,
I always say entrepreneurship is not for everyone. But you seem to have managed it very well. Yeah. You went from working to this, and you seem to really enjoy your life.
I had to slow down, so I don't take any personal clients anymore.
Right.
It was just too much work for me.
I imagine. So now it's all just companies and
basically schools and companies. I had a couple of passes that I was working with, but it's just the timing is bad. And I'm really at the stage. I'm getting ready. I'm going to write a book. I think eventually it's got to come out.
Look at that.
Yeah.
See, I asked you what else. You didn't say I'm going to write a book.
I'm going to
writing a book about.
I'm going to do that. It's going to be called the Barbershop Series.
Okay.
Right. And so it will be different books, a series of books of people telling a story in a barbershop, but they're all going to be get help books. To really. So there's going to be a message in every single one of the books to help people get better in their lives. So it's going to be a coaching book with a whole different direction.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, Rodney, it has been wonderful hearing your story. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. That's our show. Please join us next time.